Great. I'm here with Barbara McAfee. It's Aideen from the Voice and Song Summit, and Barbara coming to you to tell you a little bit about the summit. And I'd love to introduce Barbara to everyone. So Barbara, Barbara has her own Tedx talk up there. She's been working in this area of voice for quite a while and has a lot of experience. And I'm really honored that you decided to participate this year in the summit. Can you tell me why you decided to join us?
Oh, I have a lot of reasons. The first is that I couldn't resist you. I really like who you are and what you stand for in the world. So that's almost always the first up for me is like, oh, do I resonate with this person? And it's like, yes, anybody who says confidence in singing is my people. The other reason is I just want all the voices free. I really want all the voices free, especially the ones that belong to people who've been told their voice doesn't count for one reason or another, if it was a teacher or the culture or something else. So I get up every morning just thinking I want all the voices free.
I love that as a concept. I remember getting an email from a healer, and one of the lines in that was, "No one gets left behind." And
Yes.
I got a little choked up because I really wanted to believe that. And so I made a decision in that moment that that was what I was going to choose to believe. No one gets left behind, and no voice is less than someone else's voice. No one is higher than anyone else. I believe that we all have so much value, and that ability to have confidence in our own voice, to
Mhm.
trust it, and to start speaking up at moments when we need to speak up is a very valuable skill that can transform everything in our lives. And
Yes,
I think we both want the same thing. We want people to know that their voices have value.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
tell us how you help people to find their voice.
Well, I start in the mysterious realm of sound. You know, there's speaking, and then there's singing, and then there's sound. And sound, it was such a liberation for me to discover because I was trained in good choirs and I was always trying to be perfect. And that's an ugly place to live, you know. And when I first opened up into sound, there was all these possibilities about not just my voice, but who I thought I was. I was bigger than I thought. I was crankier than I thought. I was sweeter than I thought. I was deeper than I thought. And so I just use the elements of earth, fire, water, metal, and air to sort of isolate and exaggerate these particular sounds, and then give people a chance to discover how each of them can be used in speaking and singing and living more whole, not just in the parts of us that have been put in the girdle of convention.
When you say earth, fire, water, and all of that, the elements, tell us a little bit more about that, because not everybody relates to words and to those words in the way that you do. What do they mean to you, and why do you think they're important?
Well, everything's made of elements for starters. And so each of the five correlates to a different part of the body. Like earth is about your feet and your butt and your legs, and air is about the top of your head. And so I think those elements are helpful to isolate certain particular sounds and then connect them to parts of your body. There's some correlations to the chakra system from yoga.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So, and they sound like the element. Fire is very fiery, and earth is very earthy, and air is very airy. So, it helps people remember what's available, and then you kind of paint with them. You know, you once you get access to them, you can say, well, do I want to mix a fire and water for this, or do I want, if I'm singing a lullaby, would air and water work better? So it's just a paint box for your voice.
Beautiful. I love that as a concept. I'm so curious. I can't wait to hear you talk more about it at the summit. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about the presentation you're going to be offering.
Well, I'm going to give people a supermarket sample, like when you go somewhere and you get a little taste of something. I'm going to give people a supermarket sample of the 5 elements in their own voice. So they'll have an opportunity to learn a little bit about the framework and then just most of the time will be acting foolish, playful, and making these sounds and then figuring a little bit out about how they can be useful in your life.
Very interesting. How did you discover the 5 elements for they weren't always part of your teaching, obviously.
No. I was doing a bunch of this extended range vocalization at the time, and I was taking yoga at the time, and I started just noticing. I'm a pattern kind of person, and I just started noticing. And then I'm a leadership development person. I was in business for 12 years, and so I just started noticing that the leader who talked in his earth voice was also incredibly grounded and didn't freak out when everyone else did. Also not the most exciting public speaker.
Yeah.
And I just started noticing correlations between people's voices and their gifts and mixing it up with Jungian psychology and yoga. And slowly mostly I just paid attention to people's voices and what they said about them and noticed what came home in my voice when I opened up different sounds. I was like, oh, I'm lighter now that I have my air. I'm more connected to my heart now that I have my water. So I feel like I was my own experiment first, and then I was working with my clients and started just noticing that there were patterns that were kind of universal.
Yeah, it's interesting because it does connect the dots for people, because sometimes sound, and I know teaching voice can be very experimental, and it's like, oh, try this and oh, try that. And if you try to explain the physiology of the different ways you're doing it, then your brain just goes, I don't know any of this.
So true.
What, a larynx? I don't care what a larynx
is. Yeah.
So I love that it's so accessible the way you're explaining it. And I'm guessing that different types of voices are, important then for different kinds of situations. So what kind of situations do you help people with using that?
I mostly just want to give them more choice and flexibility in how they express themselves, because one voice isn't going to work for all circumstances or songs. I love this. I'm a singer and I love having this beautiful paint box available, and I can sing it in the air, or I can sing it in the fire, and just having the choices. A lot of times people get stuck because of, all the list. You've heard them all: trauma, shame, perfectionism, physical problems, whatever. And this just gives more choice and more flexibility, so that when you want to connect with another person through speech or song, if something isn't working, you have other possibilities to choose from. And that connection is the whole point. That is, nothing happens without that connection, as a singer, as a speaker. And so looking for that connection is easier when you have more possibilities, more tools.
This is a beautiful point, because some of the speakers at the summit are talking specifically on connection and, working within the choir and things like that. And some of the speakers have spoken a lot about how the voice is very honest, how it kind of reveals what's really going on with us, and it can be a teacher to us. But in the end, most of the time that we use words is because we do want to communicate something. And saying something isn't the same as communicating. It's saying something doesn't mean the other person will listen. Right. So choosing your words and choosing your tone and choosing your timing is a big part of it sometimes as well.
Yes, I've learned that one.
Yeah. So there's so much to voice, and I really want people to understand. If you're watching the video, I'm sure you're already have your curiosity peaked, but voice is an access point to so much transformation, so much empowerment, so much healing, so much well-being. It can do so much for us, and it's completely underestimated in the world of health and healing. This is a way to actually get to where you want to go and transform things in your life. So I know that you're offering that you're going to be there on the day, and there is the chance as well for the VIP offering. I believe that's a speech that you've given before. Would you like to tell people a little bit about that?
It was my first TED Talk. I've done two, and it's a little bit longer experience of the framework, where it came from, some of the origin story that I won't have time to get into. So that is what that speech is about, and it was so much fun. I don't think people expected to be acting like Luciano Pavarotti in the middle of a TED Talk, but they did a really good job. They were singing the pasta opera with lots of gusto. So
Wow. Oh,
very
that's
playful.
fantastic. So that's available to everybody if you do the VIP option. And I'm just so grateful to you that we managed to get on our call today, despite a few little hiccups. And thank you
Yes,
so
thank you.
much, Barbara, for joining us. I can't wait to have you be there on the day of the summit.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for the invitation and this conversation.
You're very welcome. Take care, everyone, and we hope to see you there on the 1st of April.
Bye.